Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blockchain Insider. I'm your host, Vincent. And today we have a guest. He is currently the technical project manager for Forestat ChainSafe. Forestat, as some may not know, is a Rust client for the Filecoin network. He's also a part of the Filecoin's new virtual machine initiative. Previously, he has been an advocate of decentralized oracles. He has also worked on Defi projects with over 50 million more liquidity, has also contributed greatly to the Ethereum network through EIP 1973. Now, please welcome Lee Raj.
Hey, Vincent. Thank you for the warm introduction. Really appreciate it. Glad to be part of Blockchain Insights today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you could make it. Thank you so much for coming on to our show and just joining us on Blockchain Insider. Now, some may not know about your good name. Could you introduce yourself a little bit more, please?
Yeah, sure. I think you gave a pretty good introduction about me already. My name is Lee, and I'm currently the TPM for Forest at ChainSafe. So Forest is basically a Rust client for the Filecoin network. So if many of you might be familiar with the Filecoin ecosystem. So just like Ethereum is more like a computational blockchain platform, Filecoin is for decentralized storage. And we basically build the Rust client or the node infrastructure for the network. And before that, I was working at various projects, that involved DeFi, decentralized oracles, and was a developer myself before getting into project management. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, nice, nice. Now, Lee Raj, just a curious knowledge onto the whole blockchain experience. Can you tell us a little more about it? Just like how did you get into the blockchain industry?
Yeah, sure. That was quite a while ago. I think almost 7 years now.
Oh.
So it's been a while. Initially, I think that was back in 2016-ish when it was quite a different environment, and I was writing a lot of blogs and technical papers and research papers for a lot of different like a freelance. So wrote a lot of different articles on explaining what Bitcoin is, or how basic things for blockchain work, like cryptography, or just like the state trees, or how UTXO transactions work. And eventually one thing led to the another. I actually met a person who is my friend today, and back then I met him through the Ethereum developers here at Toronto, and he's the one who actually got me into a lot of programming stuff. So back in that time, he taught me how to, he was like a mentor for me. He taught me how to do Solidity programming, how to program in the Ethereum blockchain network. And then we built a lot of ICOs together back in 2017. So most of those companies don't really exist today.
Yeah.
But I did get a chance to work with some really cool people at that time. And one of them was Fabian Wallstein, who was, still can't pronounce his last name, but he was basically the creator of ERC20 token itself. So he's an author. So he was advising a project there, and was lucky enough to work with them, worked on some early identity and reputation systems back then. I forget the name of the EIP at the moment. Then, one thing leading to the another. In 2017, I had joined the company startup here in Toronto, who was building a lot of DeFi applications, and worked as a programmer and the lead developer for quite some time there. Worked on a lot of DeFi projects and decentralized oracles, and then I just wanted to do something else, and then I moved into where I am today, and it has been quite a long, interesting journey. Yeah, that's how I got started. Yeah,
that is one long journey, but for such as myself, I'm also very interested. Just bringing it back to the past you, right?
Yeah.
Like the blockchain industry, now you look at it from the past and looking at it now, like how much has it developed in your own personal opinion?
That's an interesting question. A lot, and in weird ways. Specifically when back then, I mean, when I say back then, it's not even that long ago, like probably what's that, the last cycle. It was a very different vibe because you mostly had Ethereum as the main blockchain, right? So
Correct.
almost everything was happening. And also you had some other stuff there which nobody cares about it anymore. We had some stuff like master coins. There was a really popular blockchain back that time, which is called EOS, and that nobody cares about it
Oh,
anymore. Which is they did really some interesting things back then, like Steemit. They built smart contract platforms on C++. There are other computational platform stuff like, I think it still exists, but not very popular. Golem,
mm,
GNT. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that it was different because Ethereum was very unique in its sense, and you had a lot of people with a very different mindset who came into the Ethereum ecosystem. So that was more
mhm,
like, they wanted to build stuff, build interesting things, build cool little things that they couldn't really do in Bitcoin, right?
correct.
And when I met Vitalik a couple of times, I had asked him, man, like, did you think it would explode this much? And he was like, man, probably didn't really think. He also wasn't, anticipating this big thing
He
that
didn't
Ethereum
expect
is
it
going to.
to blow
Yeah,
as what it is now.
yeah, exactly. And Vitalik has done a really, like, he has this ethos, right? He
Yeah.
wants to build. He really wants to do good in the
Mhm.
world, but I'm not sure I can say that for a lot of projects that are recent. So that's the difference. So and today there are a lot of different blockchains and ecosystems and a lot of platforms, but
Mhm,
at the same time the vibe is different. There are a lot of Web2 space, as we call it, like
mhm.
people who have worked in um, traditional software industries, right? Specifically with a client server architecture, or we take it any of the big I don't know what's the word for it, but they have a specific acronym for, like, Facebook, Google, Uber,
Mm,
these big tech companies, right? A lot of these people from these companies are moving into the Web3 space, so that's a little bit unique in the last two years or so that I have seen, and also a lot of different types of I would say more blockchains compared to what they were there back then. It was just very few. Yeah,
yeah.
not sure if that answers the question, but we
Oh
can talk
no, no,
more
that
about
that
it.
was
Yeah.
perfect. That was perfect. Cause just going back to the blockchain world where you were part of the DeFi projects over and you've made over 50 millions in liquidity. Like,
Uh,
could you
yeah, I
tell?
didn't make it. Was like most like working on projects that had $50 million in liquidity.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
being a part of something so big and so greatly known now, like
Right.
how did you feel then and like how do you feel now about it?
Yeah. So, yeah, good question there. So, something to understand about liquidity in the space, which at that point I was like, oh wow, there's so much liquidity in this app
Yeah.
or things like that, right? Uh, it's it's a little. I don't really want to say, but at the same time, I'm saying it's liquidity almost in. It's very fluid in the space. So let's
Hmm.
say if you have something like I don't know what's a good example, but anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that people in the blockchain space or in the crypto space, the movement of money is very fast and fluid, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
so one great example is like the whole catastrophe for Luna, right? In
Correct.
less
Correct.
than a week, it went from, like, I don't know, $1 billion platform to almost that is something nothing, right?
Hmm.
And compared to that, like working on projects that have such $50 million in liquidity, it's almost like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
So compared to a lot of different financial markets, the liquidity is very fast in the crypto markets. So at that point, when I was working, I was like, oh wow, this is quite interesting, and such a platform is growing, things like that. But now I feel that anything can happen, and
Yeah.
nothing is really too big to fail, right? And specifically with the news that with Luna, that was the news of this cycle, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
that's my sentiment. Yeah.
like speaking of Luna, it's nice that you brought that up. It was all over the web, all over social media, and just on the news 24/7. Do you have your own personal opinion on why it had such a drop down, or do you kind of like, did you know this was going to happen to Luna? Did you knowledgeably?
Yeah, so that's a tricky topic. I don't really have much. I do have some context from the internet, from the Twitter world
Yeah, yeah.
or in general, but mostly from my friends, to be honest. But uh, there are specific reasons I think that happened. However, I think I was not very part of the Luna ecosystem in general.
Hmm.
I'm more part of the Ethereum ecosystem, or more in the project that we work with, like right now, Filecoin. And when
Hmm.
you're into one of these ecosystems, it's very hard to kind of branch out and know about it. But
Correct.
from my judgment or my observation says that it has to do with a lack of decentralization in a way. There was too much
Yeah.
control from few parties involved, and that had led to some situations. And it's a crippling effect, right? One thing to the
Correct.
another, one thing to
Yeah.
the another.
It's like dominoes. When one hits,
Yeah,
everything starts falling.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. And specifically in these ecosystems where you have so much money in particular apps, right? And
Hmm.
then one thing happens, and then you kind of people wanna withdraw money, and then
Correct.
things fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Oh, it's
be
it's
my
like when one person notices something's going wrong, they start to withdraw money, and that leads to another, and
right,
step
right.
by step.
Right,
Oh,
right, right.
yeah.
And specifically, there can be large withdrawals, right?
Oh,
Compared
correct.
to,
Yes.
because institutions are involved here, staking pools are involved here. It's just not, people are withdrawing $50. They're basically withdrawing 5
Correct.
million, 50 million, right? So,
Correct.
yeah.
And with your knowledge and your experience in the blockchain industry, what is your thoughts and your opinion on the future of blockchain industry, like 10 years
Mm.
from now?
Whew, that's a good question. Yeah,
I'm,
if I
I'm
would
just
be
I'm
able,
just throwing you very, very good questions up back and
yeah,
forth.
yeah, yeah. I mean, man, if I could really answer that, I would be pretty rich in 10 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But taking a shot in the dark, I think some things that I really didn't think would explode that much was the NFT space in this last cycle. I was really, really surprised actually on how much people were really interested into that. A lot of these different whatever, right?
Mhm.
I myself collected some of these NBA players, in
Correct.
NBA
Yeah.
League shops, yeah, which is fun to do. But yeah, what I can see is the narrative that's being developed is that there are a couple of things, right? One is you can see that not everywhere blockchain makes sense, and I think it has been really, really clear as we are going forward, right?
Correct.
Some of these projects, uh, blockchains make really, really good sense, and something that I've been advocating for since the beginning of time as well as in industry, and I'm still really firmly. I think I still have strong opinions on that.
Hmm.
Uh, Blockchains without decentralization don't make sense.
Correct.
So what I mean by that is that there are specific use cases where um, you need decentralization, and that really, really helps to foster some of things that we cannot do as of today, right? So Bitcoin is a really, really great example. So if you look at Bitcoin, it's the world's most decentralized asset, right? No government,
Correct.
no financial institution, nobody controls it. It's a completely decentralized asset that that has basically anonymous creators, right? So
Correct.
that is a really powerful use case, right? But if we look at into something like let's say, for lack of a better example, decentralized Netflix, it doesn't really make sense so far, because the value of Netflix comes into this aggregated platform where Netflix is able to work with a lot of different people and kind of give us that platform service for cheap, right? Maybe as of today, it doesn't make sense, but maybe 10 years from now, we want to put, non-censorship content. I don't know how that platform is
Correct.
going to
Yes.
look. Maybe not good, but let's, for the argument case, right? Sure, So I think in the next 10 years, to answer your question, the future of blockchain looks where there is, for use cases that require a lot of decentralization and that require a lot of participants and some form of incentives. And I think the use cases that don't really have that will probably not survive the next 10 years to probably answer your question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
also, just to jump into that part of the industry as well.
Yeah.
We've all heard about the whole metaverse and how it's a widely growing. What is your thoughts on the metaverse as a whole?
So not very in tune with that, but from what I've seen so far, I think gaming is a really, really great use case for metaverse. And I think we have some really amazing projects. At ChainSafe also, we have our gaming SDK. So people are using our SDK to build gaming applications on various blockchain agnostic solutions, right? So we have that. And I'm seeing that, I think Decentraland, Sandbox, these are very leading crypto companies in the space or ecosystems, I would say. And I think gaming is really de facto where it makes sense. You have an avatar, then you have particular NFTs that belong to that avatar, and you can do trades or kind of do a lot of various kind of things. Apart from that, I know that people try to put metaverse into everything. Facebook did a big launch of things. I do have a little bit mixed feelings about it. I think like as there's a wide industry. There's a very big industry where we are becoming more virtualized. Everything we do,
correct.
From Instagram to YouTube to interacting with friends, social media, gaming. There is certainly a really, really big universe that's in virtual. But at the same time, I think human beings are very physical people, right? Yeah. And in the last 2 years of COVID has taught us that even though we like remote work, we like to be indoors, but we also like to be outdoors. So, so I have this doubt that metaverse will be de facto and everything, but there's certainly a large space for that as well.
Do you think because we're in such a diverse generation where everything is revolving with the web and digitally now, since metaverse is also out as well, do you think people are more focused on the increase of the digital verse because during COVID, or do you think it was widely growing before that?
I think it was widely growing before that. COVID was just probably like a catalyst. I mean, the gaming community has always been large, and I think they are.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And also I think like a lot of digitalization of things, as you can put it. However, crypto gave a way to kind of have ownership over these different types of assets, like for example, your profile picture or whatnot, right? Or just these in-game items. Or for example, let's say you have right now, if you use Reddit, I use Reddit a lot. I have like X amount of karma, but I cannot really sell that karma, right? Let's say, if I was able to sell that karma to somebody else because I'm not using this Reddit account, that creates a lot of, I would say, a financial layer to these social networks. And that's quite interesting. And I think there is a space for that. And Steemit actually was one of the applications that did that when I mentioned about EOS. You could write blog posts, and if you get upvotes and comments, you would basically get paid in some form of ERC20 token or monetary that you could cash out for USD value. I think that still has some merit, and probably we'll see that more in the future. Just not sure. Again, I digress with the question, but yeah.
Oh, no. You're giving absolute great information on everything. And as the technical project manager, right, at ChainSafe, which you obviously are deeply involved with the development of the company as well, just like you said earlier, how ChainSafe, they also have a gaming option that you guys have. And I've done some of my research on the gaming universe. How deeply and rapid do you think that will benefit gamers? As you can tell, nowadays we have plenty of streamers such as Twitch streamers. Lots of gamers go on to YouTube and start streaming games. What do you think? What is your opinion on the gaming option that ChainSafe provides that will rapidly benefit the gamers in the world?
Right, right. I wish I was the best person to answer this, but unfortunately I am not. But I let me see if I can share a link here. So this is one of the gaming SDKs. So on a rough area, what do we do is that I'm not sure if this is public information at this point, so I may not be able to tell that, but we do
no
have
problem.
large number of API calls to our SDK at the moment, and you are able to deploy you are able to build, I believe, a lot of different games into multi-blockchain. So I think we support Ethereum, and I think we may support some EVM based. I'm not sure if we support Polkadot at the moment, but we support multiple blockchains. So I think that's kind of so at ChainSafe we believe in a multi-chain future. So not one chain to rule them all, but that the future will be filled with multiple
consecutive
blockchains.
chains.
Consecutive chains, exactly. So obviously there will be some winners and lot losers, right? That's basically the parental law. But we think that there probably won't be one chain to take them all. Hence, our SDK allows you to build games on various different blockchains, agnostic platforms. Maybe you want to deploy it in Solana, maybe you want to deploy in Ethereum. The choice is up to the developers, basically.
Oh, I see. Now, just speaking deeply more on ChainSafe, as you're the technical project manager, could you give a little more deeper insight on ChainSafe as a whole, as a company?
Sure. We do a lot of things and a lot of interesting things. And probably this information, you won't get it on website, and we're working on, making our website better. But there are a couple of areas where we do things. So one is the protocol layer. So I am mostly part of that. In that protocol layer, we work with our partners include like Filecoin Foundation, Ethereum Foundation, Polkadot, Web3 Foundation, as well as Mina Foundation. So for all these different protocols, we are building the node infrastructure. So node is basically the software that you use to connect with the client. So for example, in Bitcoin world, it will be the software that you're using to mine Bitcoin. So that's kind of the node software. In Ethereum world, there's something called Prism. You can run a validator client, or you can run a consensus or an execution client. So Lodestar is our client for the Ethereum network. So, if you see the open clients, Lodestar is our client. So that's one area where we work with a lot of different protocols to build a layer one infrastructure, as we call it. Then on top of that, we have projects that we are building, more like middleware or user-facing projects. So one of them is called ChainSafe Storage, and one of them is basically the SDK that I shared with you. So with ChainSafe Storage, it's similar to like not exactly AWS, but probably AWS S3 buckets, where you're able to store files, or Google, I forgot the name, Google Cloud, not exactly Google Cloud, but where you're able to store any information into storage, basically. So those are kind of different products we built. And on top of that, we have we have something called Chain Bridge, basically, which is more like asset transfer between various different blockchains. So these are kind of our middle layer projects. And we also do some form of consulting work, where building or security audits. So we have done security audits for different DeFi projects, as well as some consulting work for one-off projects, like integrating something along those lines, was something called FilSnap, where you're integrating Filecoin support into the MetaMask. So that's kind of one example. And we have a bunch of those. I'm not sure if I'm in the liberty to share that publicly, but that's a little bit about ChainSafe.
Now, just to share a little more on the information you provided about ChainSafe, it must be a hard tasked to keep it all fluctuating very fluidly then, I'm assuming.
Yes and no. Sorry, I also just looked at the repo. We are also the maintainers of Web3.js. So Web3.js is the library that connects the Ethereum world into the JS world. Just wanted to share that as well. Yes and no, because we have different departments that focus on that. So like I said, I'm part of the protocol department, then there's a product department, and then there is like a consulting department, and there is also like a projects kind of department. So everything is you know loosely separated by departments, but at the same time, it all falls under the same blockchain R&D and building the future of Web3.
Now, coming from individuals that don't know too much about the blockchain industry,
Right.
what knowledge and information would you give them right from the get-go, right from the start? Looking at the past you probably in the beginning didn't know much about the blockchain. How
Right.
did your friend kind of show you the way and lead you? And how would you show someone else the same way or different route?
Yeah. So that's difficult today, I think. If I was entering the industry today, I would definitely be lost. For me, it was easier because there's not really much. Well, there was much, but there is very few things you could kind of look into it. What really, really helped me to not get distracted, I would say,
Oh,
is
distracted.
that
What do you mean by
to not
distracted?
get to not get what I mean by distracted is, every I don't know, every few months there's a new project, there's a new thing,
Yeah,
there's a new token, there's a new airdrop, there's a new something going on, right?
yeah.
And then you
Especially on that moment where Dogecoin was kind
yeah,
of
that's
like growing, like that type of era when that was growing, everybody was jumping on it, everybody was going crazy trying to figure out what to do and what to that.
right.
Like how for someone, let's say someone that completely knew nothing about the blockchain and they just jumped in not knowing anything. What would your helping wise words help with them?
My wise words, my my wise words. Uh, I think what really grounded me was understanding Bitcoin.
Mm,
That really grounded me. I know it sounds really simply stupid, but like understanding and I still think till today people don't really understand what Bitcoin is really for. We can talk about a lot of different things, right? We can talk about, okay, this is a node, this is a proof of work, this is a Bitcoin price, but truly what Bitcoin solves is an economic problem. What really Bitcoin, so if you look at the economic policies in the world that we have are mostly centralized in nature. So we have a centralized government, we have a central, like the US has the Federal Reserve, in Canada,
correct.
we have the Bank of Canada. And right now you can see, right, with the interest rates squeezing, right, the stock market has collapsed in a bit, crypto market has collapsed. And this is mostly a function, not mostly, but one of the core parameters is basically the interest rates, right? So we have a particular type of monetary policy that governs the economic world today. That is a centralized monetary policy controlled by, institutions, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin is one of the first monetary policies that is not governed by such institutions or centralized authorities, but rather than by the people, right? A
By the
completely
people. Okay.
decentralized monetary policy. And I think a lot of people still really don't understand that. And it took me quite a while. It took me years to really understand that. But once I really understood that, I really realized that many of these things, distractions, really serve not much purpose. I mean, sure, you can make money with almost anything, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You can make a use case for almost, or a story or narrative for anything. But the true essence of the crypto world is decentralization, and that really helped. Bitcoin really helped me understood that, and I think I would encourage new people to really understand that. Once you understand that, things will become a much more, less smoke and mirrors in this space.
Yeah. So for someone that just, let's say from the streets just walked up to you and said, Lee Raj, I've been following you. You are a very knowledgeable man. I just want to start to jump into blockchain. How honest would you tell them how long it would take them to fully understand even the basics of the blockchain industry?
Yeah, today is easy. A week
Oh,
worth
it's
of
easy now.
today is really easy. Like YouTube videos, you can Google Udemy courses, blog posts. It's relatively it's 1 week, 1 month, you can get the basics of it. But the difficult part, I think, is to find things that resonate. And I think what I mean by that is really, really finding things that finding values in this space that resonate with your values, right? So at
Mm,
ChainSafe, our values are, open source, transparent, decentralization. These are our values. And if you look at our repository on ChainSafe, right, everything is just open source, right? The
correct.
stuff that we make money from is open source, right? And
Correct.
that's basically our values in the crypto ecosystem. So that's also my value. That's why I really love Ethereum. I love Bitcoin. And I think that's what you really need to find when you get into that space. Okay, what are your values and what kind of you value about this space, and go from there. And it's okay. Sometimes your value might be, I just want to make some money with some meme
Yeah.
coins. And sure, right? I mean, like, go for it. Go for Shiba, go for Dogecoin. Just go meme all out, right? And if that's your
Yeah.
value, you don't really have to be like, oh, decentralized and Bitcoin is the way, right? I mean, sure. And there are some people whose values are right. I think it's a cool thing. I like art. I like NFTs. I like this gaming stuff. That's your area, basically. So I would say pick your values, then pick the areas that make sense for you in the crypto world. That would be my
Oh,
suggestion.
no, that is absolutely amazing. Because knowing from just any individual that doesn't know anything about blockchain or Bitcoin or any of that, and your explanation on that was so thorough, they would deeply understand that, especially nowadays. And I'm assuming back then it was extremely hard for you to like progress it through, even with your friend kind of like mentoring you through it, right?
Yeah, it was hard because there's not really much information. That was the difficult point. Like, if I had a problem, there was nobody to ask to,
There was no
except for
YouTube.
there's, yeah, there's nobody in YouTube talking about anything. Even the people who were working on it were like in some obscure channels, man. It was not like you
Oh,
could go to like Slack Overflow, or like, there's like stuff that I never heard of, right? Like, I had to go to those channels to figure out, to ask this specific person to get noted. So that's the reason why it was very hard at that point. But gotten much easier. Yeah.
it's gotten a lot more easier.
Way
So,
more easier. Way more easier. Way more easier
oh,
and way more confusing as well, right? So
oh, really? So it's
yeah,
just doubled up. It just doubled up on
double
both
up,
ends.
double up. Yeah, double
Now,
up.
now, just to learn more based on just like the whole industry of it, a whole, just like you said earlier about the NFT world,
Right.
right? I know there may be some individuals that have some speculations on how NFT works. Do you have a knowledgeable, wise way of explaining how the NFT works? Just for some individuals that are interested in it, but they're also skeptical on, oh, how does it work and how does this progress through the whole crypto world?
Sure. I've given this question a thought, and that's a very good question. I really like the question. You've been asking really amazing question, and
Oh, thank you,
quality of
thank you.
answers really depend on quality of questions, right? So let me put it this way, right? Let me Google it up. The numbers, then let's see. So Mona Lisa is worth $850 million
Hmm.
today. Okay.
Correct.
The reason why Mona Lisa is worth $850 million, because there's only one Mona Lisa, and
Correct.
it's in Louvre Museum in France. At least when I saw it last time, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you are going to make 10 billion copies of Mona Lisas and distribute around to everybody who wants to take it, there is no value of Mona
Correct.
Lisa, right? So that's how we need to look at NFT in a way. If it's a non-fungible asset, right, that
Mhm.
means the quantity has to be scarce in a way, right? Now that's one of the reasons why the crypto punks or something has really high valuation or values for these assets, right? But there are some other projects that are heavily diluted. That can go for $1 or whatever. There are some Top Shots. Top Shot is one example. They're really heavily diluted NFT moments that go for $1 or whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the NFT world, yes, it is certainly called a non-fungible asset, but we also have to understand that's a really big area, right? Mona Lisa is a non-fungible asset, but there's only one Mona Lisa, hence
Correct.
850 million, right?
Yeah.
Now you have this NFT that has 10 billion copies. Yes, it is an asset. It is provable in the blockchain. But there are 10 billion copies of it. So the value is going to be 1 cent or whatnot, right? That's something to keep in mind. The difference between a non-fungible asset and a ERC20 is there's basically divisibility, right? So dollar 100 cents is equal to $1, but one Mona Lisa is one Mona Lisa, right? So in the NFT world, now that you can program these assets, now you can program it in a various way in the NFT world, right? You can make it 10 billion copies, you can make it 1. That is really up to the creator. Mm-hmm. However, you have to keep in mind that what drives that value, right? What will drive that value. And at many a times, there are really intangible things that drive that value. But one thing that really drives the value is basically its scarcity and it's the community behind it. What makes if we all stop using Canadian dollars tomorrow, it has no value, right? Yeah. If we stop just believing Bitcoin, there's just no value.
Yeah.
There's just no value, right? If we don't value USD, there's no value. So I think it also has a similar narrative there: scarcity and what people are willing to kind of pay for it or are willing to engage for it, right? That's what it is.
Oh, I see. Now that's a great answer, because I know there is a lot of individuals out there that probably are watching this and just out there in the world figuring out how NFT works, or figuring out how just the blockchain world and the society of that works, right. And they're just running into lots of problems that they don't know where to come from. And this whole interview really will help them a lot with just learning and getting them the basic knowledge of how it's developed as a whole, and right. What it used to be and what it is now. So thank you so much for that, Lee Raj. But just to like deep into more information of the systems, you've been in the blockchain industry for roughly about 7 to almost 10 years, you would say, right? Seven years, right? So as the individuals that's basically, you could say you've been there from the beginning and coming to the future of it, you've seen a lot more than what individuals I have seen, like such as myself, right? So when you come to like Ethereum, you've seen the growth of the Ethereum, right? Like, how did that impact you? Did you feel the excitement of continuously going further in with Ethereum, or what made you even more excited about the role you have now?
Yeah, it was very slow.
It was very slow.
Contrary to some people, how like a lot of my friends in this recent cycle, in 2020 and pandemic, people have nothing to do in home. People, it seems like an overnight success, but it was very a slow grind. I mean, like, people who were in the last bear market will definitely tell you that. It felt very slow, and some of the things, like back then, it almost felt like why things are not moving fast enough. Like, this is a platform that has done such an amazing thing. There's so much, like, there are amazing projects, like at the beginning, well, there still are, like MakerDAO is an amazing stablecoin, right? Like it is collateralized with Ether. Obviously it has its dark days, but and we were really thinking, like, it's really slow. And the last bull run in 2020 or whatnot, Bitcoin went to like close to 70K, Ethereum. It really it was a lot of factors, but at the same time, we felt that it was long overdue. And
Oh,
going in,
you thought it was long overdue, like you
yeah,
felt.
it was really long overdue. It felt that way, because there's so much value that Ethereum and the other blockchain ecosystem have produced in the last 4 years, and it was really not reflecting in the market, right? And I think as we go forward as well, I think it might be similar. There'll be long years of where you people are heads down building stuff, and there's less noise in the ecosystem, and then there's suddenly some noise in
Yeah,
in some years. Yeah, yeah.
because coming from your personal feedback on it, it was considered slow, and obviously you said a lot of people consider it pretty fast in
Yeah,
the industry. Just to elaborate on that, like what made it seem slower than usual then, considering?
right. So I mean, if you think about it, right? So for example, okay, let me give you an example. Do you feel comfortable managing your own crypto with a cold wallet?
No,
There you go.
really,
7, 8 years, 10 years down the line, like we haven't solved that problem, right? Simple
no.
process. Managing I still get a heart attack the moment I'm transferring some money out of the exchange to a cold wallet or to my MetaMask, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I have been doing this for like what, 7 years now. And
yeah.
imagine if this is like somebody new into the space, and then you tell this person, oh, you lose your private key, your money is gone. Like, what kind of nonsense is that, right? Like,
Yeah, you lose
simple,
the trust. That's probably why they it's been moving pretty slow in the
yeah,
in that industry. Oh, I see.
simple
I
things like
see.
that, right? Simple things like that, like very basic things, right? There's your answer. Why I feel it's
It's
slow, right?
it's it's like it's like a code with one false mistake, but it won't
Yeah,
transfer through. I
right,
see.
right. Like,
Now to a lot
yeah,
of like newcomers, they wouldn't know that because they
yeah,
just look at it as like, why am I not getting money? Why is it dropping? Right?
exactly. And then you try to contact the exchange, and they say, oh, we don't do anything back because there's no KYC in this thing, right? It's not
Yeah.
like Lee send the money from this institution, this, and I will reverse the transaction. Nothing like that. It's just gone, right?
So
So
for a newcomer, if they were to jump in and have that situation, what is one word you would say to them or sentence you would say to them to kind of keep them calm and collective minded? Because picture myself as a newcomer and I'm in that situation where I'm like, Lee Raj, I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do? Like I'm locked out. I'm not getting my money back. Like, how would you calm me down with just a simple sentence of
yeah, don't make a mistake. That's my only advice. Don't make a transactional mistake. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
because I know a lot of newcomers, they will probably do this at least once in the crypto
yeah,
world. They don't know what they're doing and they just instantly see everybody and start to follow it, just like a
yeah,
trend. Just like
yeah,
what you said earlier, where when it's like dominoes, when one tips, the whole thing tips down,
right,
right?
right.
So stuff like that, I believe your knowledge and your experience have really greatly impacted everybody in this interview to acknowledge and start to look at things in a different way and different viewing. I believe that. So I really
Yeah,
thank you for all your advice that you gave today.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of
And
course, of
just to wrap things up,
course.
you must be a very busy man, individual
All
on
good.
your own. Uh, just for your last words, how would you explain or narrate down the crypto and blockchain industry in just one sentence? If you were to explain the blockchain and that industry in one sentence to individual.
Oh, okay. Let me have a moment on that one. That is tough.
I'm popping interview meetings back and forth to you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. I would say rebuilding the internet as it should have been. I think that would be
Mm.
my narrative. Yeah, rebuilding the internet as should have been in the first place. Yeah.
Now could you kind of like narrow it down
Sure.
on what you mean by that?
So a couple of days uh, ago, I am not maybe yesterday. Something went down. Zoom went down. There
Yes,
you have you have
yes,
you have felt that outrage, right?
correct,
I mean, if you think about it, the entire internet is being held by some entities, and when
correct.
those entities goes down, there's an entire blackout, right?
Yeah,
Now,
it's like the end of the world for the whole entire like internet
internet, right?
of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Now, if you truly ask this question, is the internet truly a remarkable invention for humanity? And I think most people will say yes, right? Most people will say yes. Now, if you ask the follow-up question that if this is such an important, remarkable invention, as close to something like electricity or the automobile or whatever, right? Maybe I'll get called out for comparing it to penicillin or something, but but if it is truly such a remarkable invention of humanity, should it be really, really governed and controlled, or be subjected to failure to few entities in the world? And I think the answer should be no. And I think hopefully the answer to solve this problem lies in the Web3 ecosystem and crypto as we go forward into the future.
Thank you so much, Lee Raj, for your answer. Yeah. And to all the viewers, please like and subscribe and comment down below. Our nice, lovely guest today was Lee Raj, and thank you for all his knowledgeable, wise words that he gave to us. Thank you again for joining us on this, and I hope you have a good day, and I hope everybody stays safe.
Thank you for having me here, Vincent. Really appreciate it, and thank you for all the viewers. Really appreciate it.